Cooking with Nono again. Today, kind of a sad day, and what I'm doing today is going to be in memory of Daddy Jack cooking with the blues. I went on Google earlier this week to look at a recipe of his, and there was an obituary, and he passed away in May of this year at 68 years old. Kind of young to be dying, but anyway, since he was an inspiration for me to do a cooking video, and his very last video that I watched, in fact it was his very last video, he was cooking outside at home with his daughter, and he was doing seared tuna and making a Hawaiian poke, which I've had plenty of pokes on my trips to Hawaii with my wife. So in memory of Big Daddy, I'm going to play some blues in the background. Billie Holiday, Bessie Smith, Louis Armstrong, some other classics. So, okay, what I'm doing now, in his honor, I'm going to do an Italian version of the New Orleans classic, shrimp and grits. So, you know, the grits are going to be polenta, and, you know, that's my Italian spin on it. So let's begin. Here's the polenta. It's Moretti polenta from Italy. And the way you cook polenta, you take a handful, you sprinkle a little bit in the broth while it's boiling. I'm using a beef broth, by the way. I'm not using water. And so, you know, doing polenta is pretty similar to doing a risotto. You add and you stir. And this should be thickening up pretty soon. And in the beginning, when you're doing this, you use a whisk to make sure you don't get any lumps. And after the polenta starts to thicken, then we will switch over to a wooden spoon. Believe it or not, as simple as a dish as this is, I was at a restaurant that had polenta as a side dish, and it was, all you could do was taste the cornmeal. I mean, God, if you can't cook polenta, a simple dish like that. Okay. In here, and as you can see now, it's starting to thicken up pretty soon. And I'm violating other rules here. I'm cooking polenta in a wok pan, which it really doesn't make any difference what you cook it in. Yeah. This is when you got to be careful, because when it starts this bubbling act, you can actually burn yourself when you're starting. So you have to be very careful how you approach the pan. Okay, see how nice and thick it's getting now? Here's another spin that I'm going to do. Usually you put the sauce on top. I'm going to incorporate it inside. Again, this is my favorite commercial pasta sauce. It's called Hoboken Farms. It's made with Jersey tomatoes. So we will add some of this to the polenta, which is going to enhance the flavor. Give it a stir here. As Rachel Ray would say, we'll give it a zhoosh. It's funny, I was talking to my niece the other day, and we were reminiscing about our childhood and some of the things, and we got to talking about Italian fairy tales. And one of our favorite fairy tales was one that was called Gatto Mammone. It's about again, the usual fairy tale bit, an orphan girl with two evil stepsisters, and her protector is this big red tomcat, otherwise known as Gatto Mammone. As we were talking, I thought, that would make a great children's book. So I called my grandson, Ben, the one who made the pasta. He's a gifted artist. Right now he's at Cleveland Institute of Art. So I asked him, I says, how would you think about illustrating a child's fairy tale book, based on an Italian fairy tale? And I have yet to hear from him, but knowing him, I think he would love to jump at it. But it's interesting too. I mean, all these fairy tales are very common, but are they really as brutal as the German fairy tales, where you have old ladies baking kids in ovens, and then the PC crowd comes out and they're complaining about Harry Potter? We're gonna have these really gruesome fairy tales. I don't know. That was an idea anyway. And I appreciate, all of the new subscribers I've been getting. This is Louis Armstrong in the background, which most people say that this is the greatest blues introduction. So I don't know if you can hear it or not. I don't want to play it too loud to drown myself out. But, okay. So looks like this polenta is about ready. And today I'm going to be using a pecorino romano rather than my usual favorite Parmigiano Reggiano. Okay. Lay this on here. Now it's time to do my usual bit, drinking wine. This is a California Pinot Noir from Han Vineyards. This is an excellent wine. And way back, maybe, I shouldn't say way back, but around the 60s or so, Pinot really was the leading red wine. But Pinot is kind of a temperamental grape, and it's hard to grow. So the Cabernet Sauvignon is so much easier to grow, and you get a bigger crop, and you can make more money, which is what the vineyards are out for anyway. So that started the Cabernet craze, and Pinot fell into the background. But if you can ever find a good Pinot, it's really worth it. And this one is an excellent Pinot, by the way. So now we will put the shrimp on.
Ready?
Yes? Okay.
no, no.